Hi, everybody. It's Matt from Discover College Soccer. I hope you're enjoying the podcast, whether that's on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. I also wanted to let you know about the Discover College Soccer Study Table. This is our brand new online portal that is complete with a 14-part online course giving you all of the ins and outs of the college soccer recruiting process. There's also a wealth of resources such as checklists, templates. There's the spreadsheets that have every soccer program in the country, along with their coaches, their contact information, their social media information, some basic stats about the school, and more. Plus, there's an online community where you can ask your questions, share your wins, your losses, any questions that you may have around the college soccer recruiting process. It's all there at the Discover College Soccer study table that you can find at discovercollegesoccer.com/study table, and hopefully we will see you there. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Discover College Soccer. Today, I'm lucky enough to be joined by Coach Rick Escalera from Cochise College in Arizona. Welcome, Coach.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for being here. You got a women's junior college program there in Arizona. And I know that one of the toughest things about running a junior college program is you're recruiting twice as much as everybody else, as players aren't there as long. So, kind of what can you walk me through maybe what your kind of typical timeline is each year from the recruiting prospect?
Yeah, this year was pretty interesting. So I actually took over the program this past June. So I basically inherited what was there. Just made sure to reassure kids that were coming in new, that they were going to have a spot. Scholarship was still intact. And to be quite honest, it didn't have really high expectations in regards of what we needed to do. Right, obviously, new coach, new players, rebuild, make sure everything was up to line. But with this being our full first year, and with the recruiting process, our timeline is a little bit skewed in comparison to 4 years. So for us, we almost start recruiting immediately. Even during the season, we're already looking past that class just because we are pumping out, if you will, players every year in comparison to every four. So our classes are usually pretty big. To give you an example, this year we're replacing 9 players, 9 sophomores, 8 of which are going to continue on to play. The ninth decided she just wants to go to school. Had plenty of offers, but said school is more important. So um, that being said, we need to replace that plus usually to carry a good balance. But no, we'll usually start recruiting as soon as August. Once the season starts, if we're looking at the next class, right? So currently, with the 23 class we're wrapping up, we have our final 4 spots to fill. Have a couple offers out, waiting with a few individuals to make their decision. And then just kind of going to go from there and focus on 24s and so on, type of deal. But no, typically we'll start in August, part of the season, go all the way throughout the year, building relationships with certain individuals, right? If we can offer, then we will. But we usually don't start signing anyone until after that November date. And then that's when we start kind of finalizing everybody through from there. So,
Okay. Now you mentioned scholarships, and I think this is one of the big questions that, people ask me, or they just don't understand, is how scholarships work on the junior college side, and who can give them, and what they're for, and how that works. Because it's even though it's not really that different, people think it's different because it's not the Division 1, Division
right.
2. So can you just walk me through a little bit about what a scholarship looks like on the junior college level, how many you have to give, what that whole thing looks like?
Yeah. So everybody's a little bit different. And the interesting thing enough is in our junior college divisions, there are three. So we do have a D1, D2, and D3 level. Cochise is a Division 1, which differs from the others, right? So for us, for example, I have 24 scholarships in total I'm allowed to give. Those scholarships cover everything from tuition, housing, your meal plans. Sometimes, depending on the institution, you can scholarship books. It just really varies, right? For us, typical scholarship is usually either tuition or some type of combo towards their meal or their housing. Depending on the individual, right, that could be more or less. So that's a little bit different. However, our scholarships are similar to everyone else. That's either 4-year or NAIAs, right? In regards to, we give a scholarship for the year. So your scholarship is good for the year. Um, Unless, you're being a knucklehead and decide to act out, right? Whether that's academically or off the field issues, type of deal. That's when scholarships can be changed mid-season, but typically you're good for the year. And just like anything else, right? It's performance based. And I always tell individuals, it's not necessarily the athletic side, right? About you performing on the field, because you are here to develop, you are here to get better. And sometimes you're just going to have bad games, right? Or bad weeks, whatever it may be. It's more along the lines of, what are you doing off the field? Are you being a good teammate? Are we actually being successful in the classroom? Because the reality is, most kids that are at the junior college level or at the junior college level for a reason, right? Whether that was academics, maybe not getting the right looks, whatever it may be. My plan is, hey, let's make sure you're suited and ready to get you out from here. But no, scholarships are pretty similar. On the Division II side, for the junior colleges, a little bit different. They typically only offer scholarship towards tuition, not necessarily housing or meals. Most of them don't offer the housing side. They're more of your traditional commuter college, if you will. And then your D3s don't offer anything at all. It's very interesting. I know most people go, wait, you can offer a scholarship for junior college, and are just as shocked, especially like myself, being from Southern California originally, and knowing when I went to junior college way back when, hearing that, and I was like, wait, I could have gotten a scholarship. I would have been amazed, right? So it's different from state to state. It is different from level to level as well.
Yeah, for sure. No, and I just know there's a lot of folks out there, a lot of misconceptions, like you just said. If you'd have known now, known then what you know now, kind of thing.
Right.
So I definitely appreciate you walking through that for us. Um, so with all that being said, in terms of like the players that you're recruiting, and with everything you just mentioned around junior college, where is it that you're going to look for players? Are there events that you kind of have on your radar as, I got to get to this every year? Are you looking at high school soccer? What does that look for you?
It's kind of a mixture of all in between. The biggest thing that's changed, I think, from my playing days, right, in comparison to now, is the use of social media, the use of different products like Field Level, NCSA, things of that nature, that have just really boomed and blossomed and helped us in the recruiting process quite a bit. Unlike the 4 years, right, our budgets aren't nearly as big sometimes, to where we can go to so many events. So typically we'll recruit really locally, majority of the time. So that's anywhere Phoenix, Tucson area. Sometimes as far north as Flagstaff within the state of Arizona. But then we're also hitting up things like Surf Cup, the Legends Camp outside in California, just because more locally known for me. That's where most of my contacts are. And then we go as far inland as Texas and New Mexico. Sometimes around the borders of Colorado. So just kind of varies. That being said, though, we've talked with kids from Florida, Ohio, Washington, kind of all over, but that's more on the social media, um, internet access, if you will, right? In events, it just kind of depends what makes sense. Uh, um, for example, PDT Cup was just this last weekend or a couple weekends ago, back in February for President's Day here locally in Phoenix. Definitely signed up for that, went checked out. Got to see a lot of local talent. Plus, one of our commits was there, so it was awesome to watch her in person again. But no, and then the other part for us, and I think this is where it's becoming a little skewed with most kids, is we also get a lot of international interest. Currently on our roster, we have 6 countries represented. That's everything from Brazil, Colombia, Holland, Bolivia, Spain, and Mexico. So quite a far about from some of our commits coming in next year. We have a girl coming in from Costa Rica, one from Ghana, Currently talking to another Dutch midfielder, and a couple goalkeepers from England. So we do get that interest as well, which just kind of widens and broadens our recruiting process, right? Which is a lot of fun. I get to watch a lot of highlights, so that always is a really enjoyable part of it.
Yeah, and you answered my question regarding internationals, which has been seems to be growing in certain divisions, especially at the JUCO and Division II level. Well, I when you've looked at all the tape, whether it's an international player, you've gone to some of these events or anything, what is it that really uh, checks the boxes for you in terms of what makes a player that you want to give an offer to make you want them to come to Cochise?
Main thing is everybody looks great on film, right? And I always tell individuals like I'm gonna watch highlights, and yeah, it's everything that you've done great in that match, right? That's where sometimes I enjoy watching or recruiting in person, just because at that point I can see, hey, you know what, you made this mistake. What was your reaction afterwards? Or your teammate made a mistake. How do you deal with that? Are you the person that's bearing down on them, or you tell them, hey, next one we'll get it type of deal? But really, with what stands out in highlights for me, we look for really technical players, good on the ball, calm under pressure, um, decent soccer IQ, right? Things that we can develop. You hear the typical, right? Explosive, fast, big type of deal. But the reality is, and I tell people all the time, if that was the case in our sport, and that's what got you to win all the time, there's a reason Lionel Messi wouldn't be winning a World Cup trophy, right? But no, we look for technical players, get on the ball, have a good understanding tactically. As much as we can tweak and develop small things, right? Um, if you have a good base of just fundamentals, we're going to take a serious look. Don't get it wrong, though, right? If you're big, fast, strong, and you're interested in Cochise, we're absolutely going to take a look at you anyway. But no, for me, just being good on the ball, smart, understanding, and then just really your body language. A lot of times are things that I'll watch. In those highlights, you'll see somebody will score, and it's like, does the whole team come celebrate with you, or are you just kind of by yourself? Because those are telltales for me as well. Like maybe you're not the best teammate, as good of a ball player as you are, type of deal. And with our culture of the program, you need to be a good teammate, especially where we're located. We become your second family, especially for a lot of these internationals. I mean, you got to make sure that everybody's welcomed and enjoying the soccer that they're playing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's talk a little bit about the school. I'm sure there's a lot of folks probably down here,
Yeah.
especially in Florida and far away from Arizona, that may not be familiar. So, what are some of the awesome things that you found about Cochise?
I mean, the reality for Cochise is just the way the school is set up for us. I tell our athletes all the time, and I don't sugarcoat it. It's like, hey, look, we are in what will feel like the middle of nowhere, in all reality from it, right? And you look up Arizona, and the first thing you think is desert, right? Lizards, snakes, things of that nature. But where we're at is really unique. We're at the base of a mountain, down in southern east corner of Arizona. Um, so we actually deal with things like snow, lots of rain. It is pretty green around us, which when we start saying that to kids or they come on campus, they're like, whoa, I didn't expect this at all. Um, that being said, yes, we are in the middle of nowhere, in comparison to Phoenix or Tucson. There isn't a whole lot to do, but as I tell everybody else, it's there for you to focus. You have a great support staff, both academically and athletically, in regards to coaches that are willing to work with you, both on and off the field, that will open up facilities 100% of the time for you. You have an academic staff that is very well understood into what the process is and what your schedule's like. So they're willing to work with you, especially when you're missing days, and helping things out in that way regard. So it's awesome for that. So if you really put in the work, you'll be able to focus and get yourself out, and go from there, type of deal. But staff is awesome. Academically, we do offer some really unique majors as well too. Administrative justice, that leads you into pretty much anything law based, which we're getting a lot from corrections officer, right, law enforcement, to pre-law. We do offer pre-med as well too to get you set up and based into that field if what you're going into, athletic training, things of that nature. And all of these facilities, or excuse me, all of these programs have facilities on site that give you some hand-on practicals, which is really unique for us. The other part is just kind of what our campus life is like. If you go to Cochise, especially the Douglas campus that we are on, you are an athlete. 90% of the student population is student athletes. So you're dealing with other individuals that are used to that type of level, right? Understand what you're dealing with or what your schedule's like, which is pretty unique just because it's nice to see when we have basketball players at our games and rooting for us and learning chants. And just like our girls were at the Region 1 championship for basketball yesterday, um, cheering them on, hoping they do well. So it's pretty unique and nice in that regard.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Well, let's talk a little bit about the soccer side of things. Is there a roster size? I know like we talked about the recruiting and the numbers, but is there a roster size you find is ideal that you're trying to hit each year?
Yeah, ideally, we want to be in that 24, 25 range. The reason being is that gives us enough of a balance in regards of depth in our program, right? So we have enough depth in the roster size to where if someone does go down, we can have somebody there and there's no rush to try to get that kid back. Likewise, it also allows for kids to have an opportunity. I feel like when you start getting into these roster sizes that are 30, 35, 40, there's a lot of kids that don't even get that opportunity to shine because it's just unrealistic to get a look on them or a grasp or a pulse check, right, of where they are. Um, Plus, when we're at the 24 range, you can do that internal competition, right? So trainings are a little bit more intense because there is maybe one or two people in your position. Um, Actual going into pre-game scrimmages, things of that nature. Within, it's pretty nice because you can have somebody looking at your best dribbler, and maybe it's the person that's in their position or giving different examples of it. So typically around 24, 25 is what we like to carry. If we get anything more than that, yeah, it's awesome. But I also feel for those kids because being number 26 or 27 on the depth chart's a little rough to try to make an impact. So 24 to 25 is ideal.
No, that makes sense. Well, what about staff? Are there other staff for women's soccer besides yourself?
Yeah, so I actually have a full-time assistant coach. Name is Santos Rangel. Stays there on campus with the girls. Awesome guy, local, works with our goalkeepers. We also have our volunteer coach, which is Josh Burton. He's another local guy from Tucson area, does a lot of our social media, and our video editing as well. So anything that you see cool video related to Cochise, that's all Josh. Anything that our goalkeepers are doing that's unique, that is all Santos. But both of those guys are awesome because they actually are local from the state of Arizona. Santos being from Yuma, Josh being from Tucson area. So they really give me a pulse on what is the culture and what is around in Arizona. My background being from Southern California, SoCal up and down, what areas to hit, where to go, know what the high school culture is like there, club culture. Um, didn't have a real pulse on Arizona or what it was like. So having them has been really helpful. And I think it's also allowed us to grow Cochise as well, from just the southern corner of Arizona, but more inland, because we have kids from Yuma, Tucson, talking to girls from Phoenix, Flagstaff, and all over the state, which has been really awesome as well.
No, that's great. Well, can you tell me what an in-season typical week looks like for the players in terms of when's class, when's practice, what's the kind of game cadence and travel situation look like?
Yeah, so we play actually 2 times a week. That's Tuesday, Saturdays once we're in conference play. Typical week for the girls is if we're starting Monday, we have Monday classes. They're usually in class from 8 a.m. at the earliest, though most of them cheat and take class at 10 a.m. But usually 8 a.m. at the earliest. They're out of class by roughly around 2 p.m. Then you're heading to training. We train, if we don't lift that day, we're usually training from 3 to 5. Um, and then maybe do some study hall or film afterwards, small things. Tuesday game day if we're traveling, right? Depends on time that we're kicking off. But usually Tuesday's a game day. If we're at home, a little bit lighter, make sure they're going to class still, get them out. And then just kind of carry out that throughout the week. During the season, we do lift as well. So we're usually lifting twice a week. Nothing too heavy. It's just more of maintenance, making sure they're taking care of any prehab or rehab stuff, and where they're at. But that's usually our week in a nutshell type of deal. Sundays are typically off, which I think they enjoy, which has been really nice. If we don't give it to them off, it's usually a light recovery run, stretch, depending on what our game was like or what our travel was like Saturday. But no, that's our usual week throughout the season, which is really nice. I mean, the girls seem to enjoy it. We haven't had any complaints, at least not to my ear so far, right? But no, it's been awesome. Enjoyed it a lot. It is a busy schedule. A lot of it is balance. A lot of it is figuring out how to do homework on the road. So when we are on the bus, maybe having a couple hot spots for them so they can get on their laptops and get some homework knocked out as well. So
Oh, that's good. Well, in terms of, the team and you as the coach, how would you describe your style of coaching and the team's overall style of play?
yeah, I mean, touching on me as a coach, the biggest thing is, and I think the girls could probably relate to this, is I am fair but stern, and I'm pretty blunt to it as well. The best example, and I don't think she'll mind me sharing, was one of our sophomore midfielders. Typically plays the 6 for us in a match. She didn't start, right? Our other 2 were out. We decided to put a fullback in there instead. Typically doesn't play the position. But when she came and asked, hey, why didn't I start? What was the reason? And I was upfront with her. I was like, look, so and so is better in the air. We played a team that was extremely direct. They needed someone that was better in the air. She got her opportunity when she came in, but I think for that, in regards to the girls, it's just I will give you the honest opinion of what is going on, right? And I'm stern in regards of I expect you just to put in the maximal effort. I don't expect you to be perfect, but I do expect you to work hard. I do expect you to bust your butt every time you get an opportunity. Try 100% on the rep. And the biggest thing for me is failure is okay. I mean, understand you're going to not succeed all the time. I hate the word can't. I hate the word that I won't be able to, or that phrase. It's just, hey, attempt. What happens if we try and we fail? We'll learn another way to win, type of thing. So I think that's more my coaching aspect from it. The girls might have other opinions on that from time to time, right? Um, but no, that's me there in a nutshell. And I think my staff supports that as well too, which does a tremendous job of balancing it out. But with our team culture and team play and style, um, we're not the cliche that everybody says, oh, we're a possession style team, right? We play tiki taka. No, we are possession with a purpose of, hey, yes, we want you to keep the ball, but why are we keeping the ball? Are we looking for the better option to get forward, or are we not finding the right option to get forward? Control tempo is the reason of us dictating play. In our conference, we do have a lot of teams that are very athletic, very fast, big, that play very direct. So we are a nice balance to that and counter of, hey, we can dictate tempo. We'll knock the ball and find the right opportunity to open up a space and get into you, which I think led to part of our success this season, especially with the players that we look at, and bring in.
No, I love that. Well, we've talked about a lot of different things, and I like to end these the same way, and that's what didn't we talk about? What else would you like folks to know, whether that's about the college recruiting process, about your school, about anything in general? I'll leave you with the last word.
I think the biggest thing with the recruiting process, and this goes to all individuals, is just give everybody an opportunity, hear them out. I've told this to our girls, and it's a unique venture that we're in, right, we have a 2-year process where we're trying to ship you out, or sometimes in a year. So you go through that whole recruiting process again. But hear people out. You'd be surprised when you have a conversation and talk with a coach and hear about a program, how much that might pique your interest. A lot of times we deal with individuals that say, hey, well, I'm open to leaving the state, or I'm open to going here, or going or playing wherever. And then you reach out and it's a ghost, or we don't get any type of response, or no, sorry, I'm not interested in that level. You'd be surprised sometimes what the levels are, and how closely they might be to your goals. But really, hear them out, talk to them, make the best educated decision for you. Don't just assume, oh, it's a 4-year, I want to go there 100%. It's the best fit. Or it's a junior college, like they can only even play football there. You'd be surprised some of the players that we get that come in that you're like, whoa. But that's it for me in recruiting. I mean, really, that's the biggest part. That's the best advice I can give to kids, is just hear everybody out, give everybody an opportunity. And if you have questions, ask them, ask them, ask them, ask them,
Well,
you know?
and I'm breaking my own rule here and asking a question after the last word. But you mentioned it earlier, though. You said of the 9 players that you had that are leaving, 8 of them are moving on to play other places. So can you
Yeah.
just talk about that a little bit in terms of the desire for those players to go play, what that process looked like, and maybe some of the places they're ending up?
Yeah, so our girls are going everywhere, actually, from NCAA Division II institutions, to some of the NAIs around here locally, and throughout the West Coast. So for us, kind of the advice I just mentioned right now, right, was very much what I pushed on our girls, was like, hey, I know you may not be interested in leaving the state. I know you may not be interested in going that far, but understand what makes sense for you and hear them out. One of our girls, she's a bioengineering major. She's actually going to be going to Shaw University in North Carolina. Um, and that's just because academically fit her needs, hit every single checkpoint in that regard. Footballing aspect, they're a pretty quality team. I know they're up and coming, so it worked out for her. One of our other girls is going to Nebraska Kearney, um, up in the Midwest. She didn't want to go to the cold, but the reality was it was the best option for her, both financially and academically. So it made total sense. Um, One of our other girls was a local kid from Tucson, only wanted to stay in the Southwest or West Coast. Didn't want to open up anywhere. Really wasn't getting the looks that she wanted. I told her, hey, if you're open to it, we can start promoting you and making sure to get you with some of the Midwest contacts that I have, or we can look at the East Coast and see what opens up. And she was like, you know what? Yeah, I'm open to it. And now she's going to go to Harrison Stowe up in St. Louis. And that's with now starting to get some small interest from some of the local schools here. But she's like, no, mine's made up. I'm going Midwest, which is very surprising after having that conversation with her at the beginning of the year. But a lot of it is what I touched on, just giving everybody an understanding of what makes sense for you. And I always tell our girls, ask yourselves these questions. What's most important? Is it financials? Is it the academic side? Is it the footballing side? What is most important to you? And once you found that, okay, if football wasn't an option or soccer wasn't an option for you, are you still going to go there? Because that can happen. Unfortunately, in the time frame, or what we've been in with COVID or post COVID, you're seeing programs getting kind of cut or being left out. So really understand, does it make sense for you to go there if that wasn't there? And then the final option really is just, what do you like about the institution, the area that really stands out to you? Is it, the coach was awesome, can talk to you? Or was it, hey, I actually watched them play and I love their style of play. It fits my needs. The last example I can give you, one of our girls was looking at a school in Utah. It didn't make any sense for her style of play. Coaches were extremely interested in her, but it made no sense for her. I was like, you're not going to fit that mold. And she's going to end up going to an NAI in Oregon that fit a lot better into what she wanted to do. So, yeah, that's kind of that process a little bit there.
Awesome. No, I appreciate you giving us that insight because I think it's one of those things that some people forget about and aren't thinking about those next steps and how it works. And it's great to see that you've had so many players move on and find those right fits. And it's something I always talk about with parents and players is finding that right fit. So Coach, I really appreciate the time. It's been awesome. Wish you the best of luck in the upcoming season. And if you ever get down to my part of Florida, give me a shout and we'll grab a cup of coffee or something. All right.
Absolutely. Sounds great, brother.
All right. Thanks.